Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope you are safe and sound. Stay home, stay safe. Okay, so I'm your English instructor, Maria Farooq, and today we will discuss important features of poetry. In the previous lecture, we have discussed few basic ideas and concepts related to poetry, like kinds of poetry, then some important features of poetry. In today's lecture, I will throw light specifically on meter and its types. Whenever you are reading poetry, you should know what is meter and rhythm. So let's get started. Okay. Could you see on the top, I have written a proper definition that meter is a regular pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in the line of poetry. Now this is the written definition, but I will explain it for you. There is this whole idea behind this definition. And what is that? First of all, you need to understand what is a syllable basically. Syllable is a unit of pronunciation. For example, I say impossible. Now there are 4 syllables. Whenever you pronounce a word, just like I am pronouncing impossible, usually we say impossible. But on a deeper level, when we say impossible, there are 4 syllables. So this is what? Syllable. Okay. Now, you know, as far as alphabets are concerned, they are divided into vowels and consonants. Then we have syllable, and syllable or different syllables, when they are combined, they make a foot. Now let me read this line for you. I have taken this line from one of the sonnets by Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Now, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Now there are 10 syllables in this line. Okay, so each foot has 2 syllables. As this is iambic meter, so each foot has 2 syllables, so 10 syllables and 5 feet. So what you are supposed to do is that you will read a line properly while focusing on the pronunciation and syllables, just like I have done. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Now there are 10 syllables and each foot has 2 syllables, so 5 feet. 10 syllables and 5 feet. I hope it's clear now. Now types. There are 5 types of meter: iambic, trochaic, spondic, anapestic, and dactylic. As far as iambic, trochaic, and spondic is concerned, each foot has 2 syllables. And anapestic and dactylic, each foot has 3 syllables. You have to keep this in your mind. I have read this line, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Here, each foot has 2 syllables because this is iambic meter. So how this is iambic and how this is iambic pentameter, I will explain in my next slide. Now look here, girls. 5 types: iambic, trochaic, spondic, anapestic, dactylic. First one is iambic. Each foot has 2 syllables. I have already told you, as far as iambic, trochaic, and spondic are concerned, each foot has 2 syllables. So iambic, each foot has 2 syllables, but first one would be unstressed and second one would be stressed. Kaise? For example, I said, shall I My stress is on I. So shall was unstressed and I is stressed. Shall I compare thee? Now this is how you will read. So iambic, first one is unstressed and second would be stressed. Trochaic, first would be stressed and second syllable would be unstressed. Then spondic, both the syllables would be stressed. Then anapestic, each foot has 3 syllables, first 2 unstressed and third stressed. Then dactylic, first one would be stressed, second and third would be unstressed. You have to memorize these concepts as it is. Fine. Now let me read this example again for you. Now how to find out a proper meter. For example, this line is in front of you. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? First step is that you will read it out properly with feeling. Okay? For example, I say, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So, shall, unstressed. My stress is more on I. Shall I? Fine. So, from here, we get to know that this is iambic. Why? Because in iambic, first one is unstressed and second one is stressed. I have already told you about the syllables, that there are 10 syllables. ठीक है? So, this is iambic meter. There are 10 syllables and in iambic meter, each foot has 2 syllables. So, 10 syllables mean 5 feet. Because 2 syllables make a foot. And when there are 10 syllables, it means the feet is, or you can say 5 feet. 10 syllables, 5 feet. First syllable is unstressed, second syllable is stressed. So this is iambic. So together you will write, this is iambic pentameter. How this is iambic pentameter? Because first syllable is unstressed, second one is stressed. That's why it is iambic. Could you see the last 2 lines on the board? Iambic meter. How it is iambic meter? First syllable is unstressed, second is stressed. It means that this is iambic. Then 10 syllables, which means 5 feet, so it is pentameter. Iambic pentameter. This is how you write. Okay? Could you see on the top of the board, it's written 1 is equals to mono, 2 di, 3 tri, 4 tetra, 5 penta, 6 hexa. So, as far as the previous example is concerned, there were 10 syllables but 5 feet, because we have to look at the feet or foot. So 5 feet means penta. So this is iambic pentameter. First, you will, what is the step 1? You will read out the line with feeling, with intonation, you see, rise and fall. Then you will see first syllable is stressed or unstressed. Fine. Number 3, then you will try to find out syllables, that how many syllables are there in a line. And what would be the last step? You will write it down with you. Iambic pentameter. Just like I have done in this example. First I read the line, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Fine. So my stress was more on I. So I got it that shall is unstressed and I is stressed. यहीं से पता चल गया कि this is iambic meter. After that, I count the syllables. How? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So I got it that there are 10 syllables. So it means 10 syllables. This is iambic. Each foot has 2 syllables. So feet would be 5. So I noted down with me iambic pentameter. 5 penta. Okay. Next. Now let me give you examples for other types. Okay, girls, could you see on this page, on this slide, that the meters with 2 syllable feet are given first, iambic, then trochaic, then spondic. Now another example of iambic is the time of year. Now I have to read it like this. I will not read it like this, that time. No, I will read like this, the time of year. Now you got it, how we will read the lines? So it means first syllable, that, is unstressed, and second is stressed, time. Okay, then trochaic, second. Trochaic, first syllable is stressed and second syllable is unstressed. Now how would I read this line? I would, of course, automatically or naturally, I will read out this line like this. Tell me. I will not say tell me. You know the difference? You should know how to read the lines properly. Where to put a stress. I will read this line as tell me. So my stress is on tell. So first is stressed, tell, and me is unstressed. Okay, third one, spondic. I have already told you in the previous slide. It should be there with you on your notebooks. Rather, you should note down all these points with you in your notebooks. In that slide, I have told you that as far as spondic is concerned, both syllables are stressed. This cross sign, this shows that the syllable is unstressed, and this oblique type symbol, this shows that it is stressed. So in spondic, both syllables are stressed. For example, I read it out like this, break, break. You see, break, break. Both syllables are stressed. So this is spondic. Now, with 3 syllable feet. Anapestic, I have told you, each foot has 3 syllables. First 2 unstressed and third one stressed. I will read this line. And the sound. And the sound. Now the main word is here on third number, sound. So first 2 syllables are unstressed and third one is stressed. Last one, dactylic. First syllable is stressed, second and third are unstressed. And I will read this line. This is the forest. Now, first one is stressed, this. Then second and third, they are unstressed. So this is dactylic. So as far as this topic is concerned, meter, it demands practice. You should read out different lines of poetry and then you should try to find out meter. But one thing, the most commonly used meter in English poetry is iambic pentameter, which I have already explained in my previous slides. The most common meter is iambic pentameter. So you should, this is a kind of home task that you will read out different lines of poetry and you will try to find out the meter. And if you do not understand anything, you may ask me. Okay? Dear students, this is the second part of my previous lecture in which we have discussed meter and its types. So basically I was telling you that you have to keep in your mind 2-3 important steps when you will be finding out meter. What is step number 1? Step number 1 is that you should know how to read a line of poetry. You will not read it just like you read prose. You will read it in a different way. For example, you will not read like this, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? No, this is simply reading. You will read it out with intonation, with rise and fall, with feeling. Okay? For example, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Fine? Because when you will read like this, you will get to know which syllable is stressed and which syllable is unstressed. Whether it's iambic, whether it's trochaic. Okay? Step number 2. Then you will divide the line. How? into syllables. For example, shall, I, come, pair, thee, to, a, some, mers, day. So there are 10 syllables. So when you will count syllables, you will get to know, for example, there are 10 syllables. And of course, each foot has 2 syllables. So it would be 10 syllables and 5 feet. So step number 2 is important because it will tell you about syllables, that how many syllables are there. Okay? And step number 3, you will note it down with you. Iambic, pentameter. Iambic, why? Because first syllable unstressed and second stressed. Pentameter, it suggests that there are 10 syllables, so each foot has 2 syllables, so 5 feet and 5 penta, so pentameter. Okay? Now we will proceed. We are done with meter, and now we will start figures of speech. Okay, basically we are studying poetry. Within poetry, we need to understand a few important things. Just like the other day we have studied features of poetry, then we studied meter, which is one of the important features of poetry. But you should know figures of speech are used in poetry. And what are figures of speech? You can say they are used to give a very different kind of impression. They are used to captivate the attention of the reader. Fine? Or you can say that they are used in order to create a very clear image in the mind of the reader. Okay? So there are different purposes. So let's get started. Simile, metaphor, oxymoron, they are all different figures of speech. So in today's lecture, we will study few basic ones. Number 1, simile. Now what is simile? It is a figure of speech in which one thing is compared with another with the use of as or like. So in simile, one thing is compared with another thing, but there should be a use of like or as. For example, I wandered lonely as a cloud. This word is lonely, L-O-N-E-L-Y. Kindly correct the spelling with you. I wandered lonely, L-O-N-E-L-Y, lonely. I wandered lonely as a cloud. Now, it means that the writer is comparing himself with a cloud. But you see, use of as a cloud or like a cloud. So this is called simile. Next, metaphor. It is a figure of speech in which one thing is described as another. It is different from simile because it does not use as or like. So, simile and metaphor. They both are comparisons, but there is a difference between them. In simile, we use words like as or like, but in metaphor, we don't use as or like. This is the difference. Could you see the example of metaphor? He is a lion. There is no use of as or like. He is a lion. Simply he is called as a lion because of his bravery maybe. Okay? So, simile, it is a comparison between two things, or one thing is compared with another, but with the use of as or like. And metaphor, it is also a comparison, but there is no use of like or as. Okay? Now, third, oxymoron. It is a figure of speech in which two contradictory words are used together. For example, no light, but rather darkness visible. Now I have underlined darkness visible. Now darkness is, of course, it refers to dark. How darkness is visible? Now these are two contradictory words or contradictory ideas. This is called oxymoron. Other examples: wisest fool. Now, if somebody is fool, then how can he be wisest fool? So, these are two contradictory words. Then, aching joys, painful joys. So, joys but also painful. How is this possible? So, these are two contradictory words. And when two contradictory, two opposite words are used together, they are called, or you can say this is called oxymoron. Darkness visible. How is darkness visible? How can be a fool a wisest one? So in this slide specifically, you can see on the board, we studied simile, metaphor and oxymoron. Now we will proceed. Okay. Now this one. Fourth one, personification. Now what is personification? It is a figure of speech in which animate qualities are given to inanimate things. Usually, human characteristics are given to non-living things. Now, what is personification? When you give animate qualities to something which is inanimate or non-living. This is called personification. For example, the wind stood up and gave a shout. Now, standing up, shouting, screaming, howling, all these are characteristics or traits of human beings. But wind is not a human being. So when you give human characteristics or animate qualities to inanimate things or non-living things, this is called personification. The wind stood up and gave a shout, just like a human being. A man stood up and gave a shout. So it is written, the wind stood up and gave a shout. It means that we are giving human characteristics to wind. This is called personification. Fifth, apostrophe. It is a figure of speech in which a poet addresses a non-living thing, idea, or a dead person in such a way as if they are present and listening to him. For example, O wild west wind, thou breath of autumn's being. Now what is apostrophe? This is a figure of speech in which a poet addresses any non-living thing, idea, any dead person, as if that person or that thing is listening to him. In this example, the last line on the board, O wild west wind. The poet is addressing wind as if wind is listening to him. Oh wind. Fine. Then in another poem, John Donne, he is also a poet. He was also a poet. He addresses death. Death, be not proud. Now as if the death is listening to him. So when the poet addresses any idea, any natural phenomenon, any dead person, any non-living thing, it means, it suggests that he has used apostrophe. Okay, I hope it's clear now. So you should revise whatever we have studied, because inshallah in my next lecture we will properly start studying poems, and you should purchase your books as well. We will start from The Magic Casement, book 2, which is of poetry. So take a very good care of yourself. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.